All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from Cigar City Brewing, and they are out of Tampa, Florida, and this is their Jai Alai IPA. So this is an IPA that comes in at 7.5% alcohol by volume, 65 IBUs at the time of review, and this can is approximately 5 weeks old. So Jai Alai, this is in my opinion anyway, this is a classic American IPA that's been around for many years. And first time I had it was about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit over 10 years ago. And I remember blowing my mind back then. I think it was 2014. And then, I had it a few more times over the years, and it never blew me away like the first time I had it, but it was still really good. They get great distribution now in many different states here in the US, and this is essentially a shelfie IPA at this point. That's why I'm reviewing it as a shelfie beer for the month of June 2024 on my channel. And unfortunately, they are owned now by the Monster Brewing Company, Monster Beverage, Monster Energy Drinks, and they bought the Canarchy Company, which owned Jai Alai, owned Oscar Blues and a couple other breweries. And unfortunately, a couple months ago, there was news that broke that they're basically more or less shutting down the main production facility or main brewery in Tampa from Cigar City, turning into like a research and development, and they're going to have like a lot of the Monster Brewing Company beverages on, but they're moving the production to North Carolina, where Oscar Blues has their second location. So I think this is still brewed right now, currently in Tampa, but I don't know when it's going to move production to North Carolina. Maybe it already has. But anyway, I just hope this one is the same beer that I remembered, even if my palate differs on how I feel about it. But yeah, anyway, finally picked this one up. This is going to be a longer review. The intro is pretty long and fast-forwarded, although if you made it to this point, I'm cracking it open now. But it also says on the side here, brewed with, where is it? Brewed with 6 hop varieties. They have a little spiel here on the back that maybe I'll remember to read. It's just not even a paragraph. It's like maybe like 2 sentences. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to pour it into the glass, see what we got going on here. So the reason I haven't reviewed this one, despite the fact my channel has been going for over 6 years, is because, if I'm being honest with you, I can never find this one fresh as a single. Sure, I could probably buy a 6-pack or 12-pack and find it relatively fresh, but if I'm buying a 12 fluid ounce can or a 19.2 fluid ounce can that is stove pipe cans, I usually can't find this under 3 months old. I found this one a month old. I'm drinking it about a week later. Therefore, it is 5 weeks old, and hopefully it's fine. So anyway, yeah, that has that burnt orange color, old school American IPA, old school like West Coast looking IPA. Hold it up to the light. Yeah, it has a little bit of like a gentle haze to it, but you can see the shadow of my hand through it. About a finger of an off-white, pretty creamy and soap sudsy looking head. Swirl it up, it looks much better. Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like a IPA from the early to mid 2010s because it is. So let's get a nose. And it smells like one too. So to me, tons of orange, tangerine, big citrus vibe, maybe an underlying grapefruit kind of quality in the nose. And then there's this nice bready caramel kind of malt base. It smells pretty fresh though. There's this slight kind of floral aspect to the nose that has like a pine resin kind of quality as well. But it smells very vibrant. Like it has a very aromatic nose. Like it doesn't smell dulled. Again, 5 weeks old, relatively fresh. It smells very, very fresh. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I remember this beer being. The reason why I liked this the first time I had it was back in like early 2014. I was just really started, like 2013, 14 to 15 is when I started to really get into IPAs. Like my palate was like, hey, yeah, this tastes good. This smells good. Like I was really coming around on the hops used in IPAs. And this one kind of blew me away because I remembered having a very juicy citrus vibe to it. That bready caramel thing wasn't overblown, and it was 7.5% and it drank like it was like 6%. There was like no alcohol detection. And back then, 7.5% beer usually tasted like a 7.5% beer. It took a while for breweries to really be able to, here's a 8% double IPA that drinks like a 6% double IPA. So I remember this one always being kind of ahead of its time for that. Yeah, it smells really fucking good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Yeah. So another reason why I probably like this back then is, and I mentioned this before, sometimes in older American IPAs, but typically older like Imperial IPAs and double IPAs, if the beer was substantially old, like we're talking 6 months plus, I would get this orange marmalade character, and I would actually enjoy that. Like if you handed me like I remember having a Maharaja from Avery, and I remember having that like 9 months old because I messed up on the date when I was looking at it. I thought it was something else. And that beer, I think that beer is like 10% or something, and it just tasted like orange marmalade on white bread, like slightly toasted white bread. It was delicious, but fresh, way different. This kind of has remnants of that, but not because it's old. I think it's just because that's how it's supposed to taste. Body's higher side of medium, 7.5%, that's fine. The mouthfeel is an old school mouthfeel, moderate carbonation, smooth on the palate, but not like, creamy, certainly not soft. The taste, nose carried over, tons of, there's a very complex like orange tangerine character. Like you could probably name like 5 different, orange varieties and you wouldn't be wrong. Same thing with tangerines. That hits me at the forefront. There's a little bit of like this white grapefruit quality as it passes through. I get a little bit of like a pineapple or like a peach, very slight. And then on the finish, that floral resinous pine, a little bit bigger in the taste than it was in the nose. I'd say it's like has like a mild to moderate kind of impact on the finish. Finish is mild to moderately bitter, semi to full on dry. So it's not too sweet, not too bitter, good balance. And I didn't mention it, but there's this omnipresent bready caramel malt character, which again is an indication to me that this is an older recipe, because a lot of those West Coast IPAs, a lot of the old school American IPAs, usually the malt character you could detect. And a lot of times it'd be either bready or caramel, a little bit of both, maybe biscuity, but you would definitely get something that was, had a malt character that you could distinguish from, the hops and from the rest of the beer. And that's what's happening here. Now, a lot of people nowadays drinking hazies and whatnot, they can't get down with the maltiness, right? Like they're like, oh, caramel and bread, not for me. I just want, pure on an onslaught of juice and sweet, citrus, tropical, and stone fruit. And I get it, but this is, all the rage, going back 10 to 12 years ago. Now, again, I'm not going to be one of those people either that sit here and tell you that this beer used to be better, or, because Monster bought them, they've fallen off. That could totally be the case. 100% could be the case. But I haven't drank this beer enough over the years. Like somebody who has sat down and drank, thousands of cans of this and tons of 6-packs and 12-packs and cases could probably speak to the quality, whether it's fallen off, whether it's remained the same. For me, this is very reminiscent of what I remember this beer being, albeit not as robust and not as tasty, still pretty good, especially for a shelfy IPA. Is this, if you're going to hand this to somebody nowadays, is it going to blow their socks off? Probably not. There's only a couple beers from yesteryear that I still think fucking hit me in the feels that I think, the recipes of a lot of these beers being 15, 20 years old, maybe slightly tweaked over the years, but like Two Hearted from Bell still hits me quite well. I think that's an awesome beer, just extremely well brewed. And then like, Pliny the Elder from Russian River is another one where I think a lot of people drink, the Heady Toppers of the world. But this is definitely not reminiscent of what I had, but it's not super far off. It's just, I think this is a well-made, nice beer. 7.5%, I still can't tell. No warming in the chest, nothing on the palate. So it still hides the alcohol quite well. Man, it's really nice. It's a really nice IPA. If you are somebody who used to love old school American IPAs, West Coast IPAs, just old school IPAs from 10 plus years ago, you haven't had a highlight in a while, pick one up, see what you think about it. I don't think it's like mind-blowing or anything, but I'd be lying to you if I wouldn't say that if I would tell you that I'm not enjoying this one and I'd shit all over it because whatever, Monster owns them, this and that. That's not what I do. What I do is give you my honest opinion on it, despite everything surrounding it. And I think this is a nice, well-made, old-school American IPA that I can still get down with. And I'm glad I found a relatively fresh can to review. So Jai Alai IPA from Cigar City. I'm going to give this a high 4 out of 5 and go 4.05. That's where I think this one lands. I think it's very nice. If someone handed me this, I'd be like, all right, sign me up. I'll take a couple more cans of it, and then I'll be feeling way too good. But, it is what it is. The first time I had it, I think I had it in bottles. Maybe the first couple times. Was it bottles or was it cans? I don't know. I can't remember. Can't remember, too old at this point. Help me. All right, so the back of the label, or the back of the label, like I said, is a little spiel. The merry game of Jai Alai provides inspiration for this citrus-forward IPA with notes of clementine, yeah, orange peel, sure, and caramel malt, creating an IPA that's both bold and approachable. You just fucking took the words right out of my mouth, because that's pretty much what I said. Yeah, they spot on with that. Price point availability here in the Buffalo, New York area, I've seen this one typically around like $10.99 a 6-pack. You probably can get 12 packs for, the $16 to $18 realm. I mean, that's a good price point for something that's 7.5%, solid old school American IPA. Yeah, no issues with that. Availability, I have no idea with Cigar City. We've been seeing their stuff here in Buffalo for many, many years, going back probably a good 7-8 years, something like that. The first time I had it, I picked it up when I was outside of New York State. But I think at the end of the day, if you're an old school IPA lover, you probably still enjoy this one to some degree. It's probably fallen off in quality and what your palate thinks about it, just like it has for me. Because the first time I had this one, I gave it like a 4.5 out of 5. It's certainly not in that range, but a 4.05 out of 5 all day, every day. So if you've had this one before, maybe you've been drinking this one for 10, 15 years. I think it's been around, I want to say this one's been around for probably like 10 to 12 years. I want to say it was early 2010s, this one probably. I don't know. If anybody knows when they first produced this one, let me know. First time I had it was 2014. So, but I'm sure, you know, this beer's changed to some degree. Hopefully it doesn't change for the worse, now that it's going to be brewed at the Oscar Blues location, North Carolina. But, you know, I wanted to review this classic. I've reviewed a lot of their other, like, you know, beers that, what are the other ones I haven't reviewed? There's been a couple I haven't reviewed from them that I probably should at some point. But again, it's hard to find their stuff in singles fresh. So we'll see. Anyway, longer review. I do apologize, but a beer like this that, again, has some nostalgia, but also being a classic, I think I have to talk a little bit more about it. I have to kind of, you know, give you a little bit of background on my history with it and the whole nine. So, you know, a lot of people don't watch to the end here. So whatever. I'm going to fucking shut it down. Appreciate it. To the next one. Cheers.